My life and political thoughts as a tarot reader who thinks YouTube wants to know what the hell I'm thinking. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Antiques Tarot. So, I am going to be reviewing my thoughts on Mark Carney's speech to university students in Ottawa. This speech occurred this week. I'm recording this on Friday, October 24th, but the speech occurred several days ago, and it is a pre-budget speech. So it's getting us prepared for what is going. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out where this is comfortable. So it's getting us prepared for what is going to be coming in the budget, and I decided to make some clips and go over and some notes, go over it, review it, and my first attempt was way too long, so we're going to give this a second go, and some of it I'm going to skip. Okay, so he opens up with talking to students about how there's similarities between him and them. They both have seen major events in their lives. For him, it was the Berlin Wall coming down, and for the youth of today, it's the opposite. It's the world becoming horrible instead of better. And he wraps it up by telling them that liberalism is dead.
Agreement signed in 2018. Canada's trade increased by over 400% during that period, and our economy doubled in size. But this decades-long process of an ever closer economic relationship with the United States, is now over.
So liberalism is dead, and our relationship with the States is now over. Except I don't believe him, and he's not even going to be consistent about it throughout the whole speech. Later, he'll tell everyone it's changed. Today in the news, after Trump said talks with Canada are done, they're over because Premier Doug Ford made fun of me using my hero Ronald Reagan against me, so now I'm not going to trade with Canada, just tariffs. And Carney's like, don't worry, folks, there'll be more trade talks. So there you go on that. He also talks about how the auto industry, as well as steel and lumber, are under threat. And I really think this is him saying this is what's not being saved. Face tariffs in these sectors and expect it. All right. And then we come on to where he's just going to be like, actually, it's just not the same with the U.S.
Our relationship with the United States will never again be the same as it was, even though in this new world of protectionism, we have the best trade deal of any other country, and we're working to make it even better still.
So, it's not over with the U.S. Actually, we have the best trade deal compared to everybody else, and it's just things are going to be different. All right, then he gets into some more substance.
To confront a more dynamic, a more competitive, a more hostile world, we must chart a new course, drawing on our many strengths as a country, relying on our values, and being inspired by our history.
First on strengths, Canada has what the world wants. Nous sommes bordés par trois océans.
We are bordered by 3 oceans, and we are the only country to have reached trade agreements with each of the G7 economies, offering our businesses unequaled access to global markets.
Energy superpower. We start with the third largest reserves of oil, the fourth largest of natural gas. We have an electricity grid that is 85% clean, and we have the vast potential to power the clean economy of the future. We possess one of the largest resources of critical minerals and rare earths.
As far as clean energy, I really would like to challenge this. Could Canada produce clean energy? Sure, it could. But it's not a leader in clean energy, especially at the G7 level. Here is a table of comparative analysis of G7 countries on renewable energy share and CO2 emissions reduction. Canada is in third last for the renewable energy share, and second last for CO2 emissions reductions. Germany, the UK, Italy, and France are all way ahead. Canada is in tie here for second last place with Japan, who has better CO2 reduction, but we have better renewable energy share. And then the US is last, of course. For comparison, the US or Germany is 46.1 renewable energy share. In the middle is France at 24.5. We're at 19.6, and the US at 13.9. With CO2 reduction, Germany's at 38.2, and we're at 10.4, and the US at 6.5. So it's pretty bad. And the reasons for it come down to what he's talking about. We're making deals with everybody. We're selling everything to everybody. And realistically, that's who Canada always was. It's a corporation. As a settler colony, it began as a corporation and eventually becomes an official country as a settler colony. But so all the other countries, their key dependency, the reason they're stuck on greenhouse gases is what they're using. You know, Germany's using Russian gas, but they phased it out. The UK's a combination of oil and wind. Italy, also Russian gas, but is reducing it. France has their own nuclear energy. Japan is importing LNG. The US is using their shale gas. And Canada's dependency is different than everybody else's. The Canadian dependency is not on what they need, but on what they're selling. Fossil fuel exports to the US. So there's that. All right, let's continue.
Le Canada est une chef de file en
Canada is a leader in artificial intelligence, life sciences, and quantum computing. Our universities are among the best in the world.
We're the best, we're the best, we're the best is just what every country says. It doesn't really mean anything, but he wants to be a leader in AI. AI is apparently Carney's big thing. It is touching everything. It's touching security issues. It is the minerals of rare earth minerals. That's about AI. The energy is about AI because AI needs massive amounts of energy, and it needs massive amounts of clean water. And what you can do about it is at your municipal levels, you need to be keeping your eye out for AI data centers bills and preventing them at any cost, protecting your community's water, and which Doug Ford and Danielle Smith want Canada to reverse it being a human right. I would be concerned about that occurring. Protect your water and protect your energy and your rates. That your community can't end up being without power because AI data centers need it. You don't want the data centers. The noise pollution is horrendous. it ruins people's lives, makes them stressed out, sick, all kinds of conditions. Animals can die from the stress as well. It's horrific. Stop it at your municipal level. I don't believe in settler politics. I don't believe you can vote fascism or authoritarianism out. But at your municipal level, you can help, like, stop things. That's where you still have a chance to do something.
We're determined to build a sustainable future. These deeply held values are also economic assets. They give investors the confidence to build here. They offer innovators a stable foundation to take risks here. They give the world reasons to trust Canadians as reliable partners.
I really have no idea what this has to do with values, but I think really just because it sounds good, but when he's talking about being able to trust Canadians, trust investing here, he means easy trade without prohibitions, environmental prohibitions.
The history of Canada is filled with adventurers, risk-takers, and builders. Over the centuries, in order to succeed and prosper, we have had to go further, build faster, and dream bigger. It is important to remember that the Canada before Confederation was built through bold action and risk-taking.
Coureurs de bois, voyageurs who mapped this continent and built vast trading networks from coast to coast to coast before the Americans had even left St. Louis. When the Second World War ended, Canada was ambitious, determined, and united in a mission to build big things.
I thought Canada pre-Confederation was built on genocide and slavery because, yes, the reason Canada likes to claim we weren't built on slavery is because slavery happened pre-Confederation, but he wants to call out pre-Confederation history. Cool. It was actually built on genocide and slavery. Slavery of both Black and Indigenous people. Indigenous people made up over 50% of slaves in Canada up until the War of 1812 when Loyalists brought their slaves up here. Most of the Indigenous slaves were captured from the U.S. By the Cherokee and the Mohawk. But that's how that went. So he goes from promoting settler colonialism and promoting pioneers and settlers as adventurers that you should aspire to the 1950s. So he's invoking the same settler nostalgia and 1950s racist, patriarchal control nostalgia on Canada as well. He's doing it with nice big Jetsons, AI, tech, woohoo. This is where we're going to go. We've done big things before. I think he names the CN Tower and the CN Tower and stuff like that. Canada in those times was also all about extraction, and that is what he is selling, extraction. But this time the extraction isn't so you can build bigger things and have nicer things. This time the extraction is for AI. He fooled the majority of us so that he could get elected as a liberal despite being a conservative. And I'm pretty sure he's fooling us now, but that's what I sense underneath all of that.
Be about building, taking control, and winning. We will make generational investments with a plan to protect our building, taking We learned a little lesson about swinging for the fences a couple nights ago, as I recall. And this is what the upcoming budget will be about: building, taking control, and winning. We will make generational investments with a plan to protect our communities, our borders, our way of life. We will build a stronger economy where everyone has a chance to get ahead. And we will empower Canadians with new opportunities, better careers, and a lower cost of living. Now, we start with protection, because to build more of what we need, we must protect what we have. Safe communities attract people and families to put down roots, get a home, build a rewarding career, and ensure that children get a good education. So as soon as Parliament opened in the spring, we introduced the strongest legislation in Canadian history to secure our borders and crack down on gun trafficking and illegal drugs such as fentanyl. We introduced new legislation to combat the horrifying rise in hate and violent intimidation, including to protect against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. And as I shared last week, we will table legislation for stricter bail and sentencing laws. To help secure our communities, we're hiring 1,000 new RCMP personnel, and to secure our borders, we're hiring 1,000 new border services officers. As we build safer streets and stronger...
So we can only build with militarization. It's militarization of the military, and that will become of the police as well. And he sort of hints when he tells you how many more RCMP they are hiring. And border. There is no fentanyl problem at the border. That is a myth that's been dispelled, but it works for Trump, and it works in the exact same way for Carney. I don't even know if people believe it. I kind of hope not. Maybe they do. I don't know. But it is concerning that is his entire thought process there.
Borders, we also must reinforce our sovereignty in that more dangerous and divided world. And that's why Canada's new government is undertaking the largest increase in defense spending in a generation, or in generations to be more precise.
So that increased defense spending and militarization will go also to the borders, and militarized equipment always trickles down to the cops. So expect it in your streets as well. He also talks about AI in the military. So be prepared. When they said we are all Palestinians, they meant it, because Terminator's not 50 years away. The first movie, I think, said it was going to happen in 2026. And I'm not saying it's that date, but we're much closer to that date than some far-off future date. Because the reality is, we already have AI in the military that can decide who it's going to kill and then go kill it. And we saw that in Palestine. It's only as far away as building it here. And the United States is already seeing that, the AI tech and surveillance and the militarization and the treatment of humans that we allowed in Palestine is now on their soil, on them. It's coming.
And we're forging new partnerships with allies, such as the European Union, to strengthen our shared security.
Because we are defending Canada's sovereignty, and because there is no prosperity without security.
No prosperity without security. It's militarization is the only way we build.
First and foremost is here at home, so we...
And this whole idea of militarization is the only way we can build.
And take control of our future, and as I said, give you back yours. In the last 6 months, we've worked to create the right conditions to get big things built faster. At the end of June, we passed the One Canadian Economy Act to remove federal barriers to internal trade and...
Okay, I keep forgetting to bring this up, but the last few clips, he has mentioned, we've passed these bills, we passed these bills, we passed these bills. He has passed a lot of bills. He is passing a lot of bills. They're not all complete. Many of them are still going through Parliament, but everything from, he's not protecting you. He's making ways to dump asylum claims, dump refugee claims. Oh, there are now 50-year waits to get your refugee status cleared because they put everyone into these astounding waits. They didn't fix anything, so they can get rid of people en masse if they manage to get this bill passed. Your information, they're going to be able to go through your mail. They're going to be able, without warrants, they're going to be able to demand information of yours from tech companies, and they're going to be allowed to share it with anybody who asks, including the US. That's what these bills do.
To fast track the approval of nation building projects. In August, we opened the major
and the nation building projects, which are going to steamroll over Indigenous rights. There's a special office for it, so they can skip environmental reviews in Indigenous rights.
Projects Office, which serves as a single point of contact to get those nation building projects built faster. Les projets qui vont connecter, vont diversifier.
Projects that will connect us, diversify our economy, and propel us forward. Projects that will export our resources to new partners around the world. Projects that will create hundreds of thousands of well-paid jobs. Good unionized jobs for Canadian workers.
It's ironic he's talking about good unionized jobs, which he did a few times throughout the speech, because the reality is he has been awful with unions and union rights.
Last month, we announced the first tranche, the first group of these major projects, with over $60 billion of investments in nuclear power and LNG, in carbon capture and critical minerals, and a new trade corridor.
Carbon capture isn't real.
And we outlined strategies from offshore wind to high-speed rail and a sovereign cloud to drive hundreds of billions in further investment, all while creating the conditions for a better connected, more productive, and more ambitious country.
But what about these more green options he's talking about? It's going to happen, but Canada is doing both sides with the environment. That's what's going on. It is not a leader. It is not anywhere close to a leader. It's doing both sides. We can do green stuff and keep burning fossil fuels. And some of the green stuff just isn't green.
The thing is, we are just getting started. Our next tranche of nation-building projects will be announced by the Grey Cup, after the world's connected, more productive, and more ambitious country. And the thing is, we are just getting started. Our next tranche of nation-building projects will be announced by the Grey Cup.
So by the Grey Cup, more nation-building projects for us to worry about.
How we build. We will build inclusively, in full partnership with Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, every step of the way. We will build in solidarity with workers, creating good union jobs. And but
inclusivity with Indigenous workers and unions. I don't trust this, and most Indigenous leaders do not trust it. Some of our chiefs have asked, well, what happens if we say no? And have been told, we will find ways to work with you. Basically, there is no way to say no. And that's an ongoing problem in Canada that Carney is making worse. Consultation is not consent. And inclusion is also not consent. Just because you're including us, just because you're hiring Indigenous people, does not mean you have our consent. As people, as nations, that does not consent. So that concerns me.
In 2025, we'll introduce our climate competitiveness strategy. With a focus on results over objectives, on investments over prohibition, we will build sustainably.
So results and objectives over prohibitions means what I said before, both sides. We're going to do some green stuff, but you're still allowed to burn fossil fuels. We will not put any prohibitions or anything to prevent or make it difficult. There will be no negative incentives.
Le budget
The budget will introduce a new strategy to build sustainably and competitively for the future of Canada. We will be focused on results rather than objectives, on investments rather than prohibitions. We will build sustainably by relying on energy, transportation, housing, and low-emission manufacturing to enhance our competitiveness, because reducing emissions is not only a moral duty, it is also an economic imperative.
We do hope he means it, but he's given us lots of reasons to just not really believe it.
Working on a contract in St. John's can get a full-time job.
And so that an engineer from the University of Ottawa has the great career right here in Canada.
Around the world already taking note of new Canadian.
This was one that I had to go back and grab the clip of that, because I hope it doesn't come to be, it sort of in the whole context sounded a lot like, if you go to school here, work here.
Ambition. Last month, we signed a historic free trade deal with Indonesia, the world's fourth largest country by population. We've just signed foundational agreements with the United Arab Emirates in AI, and with the EU in defense and trade, and with Germany in critical minerals. We're re-engaging with global giants India and China, while we deepen our partnerships with our traditional allies. And to build on this momentum, and to put it in context, our goal for Canada is to double our non-US exports over the course of the next decade, generating more than $300 billion more in trade. And that's new orders for Canadian resources, technologies, and expertise.
Resources. Primarily, it's going to be about resources. Technology is going to be about the data centers he wants to build here. It's concerning. And the amount of water that these data centers want, I've already said my concerns there. It's pretty concerning.
It's the means to
We
succeed.
start by lowering costs with programs and services that provide strong foundations for a good life. So the first thing that we did, the absolute first thing we did after the election, was to cut taxes for all Canadians who pay tax. Delivering tax.
All Canadians. Whether you're the guy who owns Shopify or whether you're on social assistance, you got the tax cut. The 50s, Jetsons 50s he wants to sell you, that didn't happen without high income tax. What about pre-Confederation? Okay, there wasn't income tax pre-Confederation. There wasn't income tax until 1919. But until then, when income tax was instated in Canada, what they had was the income was largely made off of consumption taxes, i.e. tariffs. But because it was a corporation, it was a settler colony. The goal of a settler colony is actually to export goods to the empire that the settler colony is a part of. And that's why it was more like a corporation and a business, and why they've hired a banker.
For more than 22 million Canadians. We cut taxes to reduce the cost of housing for first-time homebuyers, some of whom I hope are in this room, immediately making the goal of home ownership a reality for more Canadians with young families. All of the big projects that we're driving forward, from new housing and new ports and clean energy, will create high-paying careers, many of them union careers here in Canada. It will be a great time to be in the trades. But as well in the...
It's going to be a great time to be in the trades. He tells university students do not want to hear right now is a great time to be in the trades. My son's at that university. He's studying linguistics. These are not linguistics jobs.
budget, we will unlock new apprenticeships, new skills training programs, and a new talent strategy for the next generation of scientists and innovators who will build our country. And as we build new industries and create new markets, you will be equipped with the skills you need to succeed with those opportunities. Because when Canadians empower each other, everyone benefits, and Canada prospers. Vocês
To seize the opportunities offered by this pivotal moment, we must make difficult decisions. We must change the way government operates, spending less so that Canadians invest more, build our country, and create better careers.
The upcoming budget will balance the operating deficit in 3 years by reducing wasteful government spending and doing more with less. So the fact is that federal spending has been growing over the course of the last decade by more than 7% year over year. We've been spending faster than our economy was growing. So we have to change that, and our government is changing that. As one example, we just completed a 60-day red tape review that identified nearly 500 new ways to streamline government services, cut duplication, and reduce costs.
AI. Just try and call Revenue Canada.
And when we saw that Canada Post was losing $10 million a day, Madam President, would you like to have $10 million a day? Imagine what you could do for the university with $10 million a day. Canada Post losing $10 million a day. We made responsible choices.
Nobody wanted to listen to Canada Post how to become more profitable, though.
But the fact is, even with such efficiencies and with better management,
The whole efficiency thing is really scary after Elon Musk, though, isn't it?
we will have to do less of some of the things that we want to do so we can do more of what we must do to build.
I don't know where I've heard that. We must do less of what we want to do so we can do more of what we need to do. There's something about that that's familiar and feels really evil, really gross and icky. I'm not sure what it is. We have to do less of what we want to do and do more of the things that we should do. I'm not sure where it's from, but it's kind of gross. So the future of extraction is, or the future of the country is extraction and trades, and he's delivering this to a bunch of university students who he really wants to stay in Canada with their Canadian university degrees, because he is also worried about a brain drain. He is selling everything Trump is doing, but with like a liberal title and making it sound more normal and less populist than what Trump did. That's what I pick up from it, and for me, that's what's kind of scary about it.
To build a bigger and better Canada. Ce budget va protéger les programmes essentiels.
This budget will protect the critical programs that give every Canadian a real chance to get ahead. We will protect the Canadian dental care program that now allows more than 5 million Canadians to access affordable dental care. And we will make the National School Food Program permanent, a program that allows 400,000 children to receive a healthy meal every single day.
We will protect the National Child Care Program for the over 900,000 children who are getting the strong start that they deserve, and for their parents who no longer have to choose between raising a family and keeping their careers.
So these were all things the previous Liberal government just brought in, forced to by the NDP, who they had a supply and confidence motion with. These are NDP promises. These are NDP things. I'm surprised we get to keep them, but I think because there'd be too much backlash, because they actually do make sense. These things actually improve the economy because everyone's doing better. People cost the government less money when they're doing well.
Well, our budget will also bring in automatic federal benefits so that the millions of low-income Canadians who aren't part of the system can get the support that they need.
A lot of people do hope that it's universal basic income. That'd be great. It won't solve poverty. Poverty under a capitalist system will just recalibrate to make sure that the bottom remains the bottom. Doug Ford got rid of, or is saying he's going to get rid of rent controls. That will have a bigger impact than this.
Now, we need to be into our...
And let me explain that. Say you get given a universal basic income when there's no more rent controls. They know how much your universal basic income is. Rent becomes that or more, that and more. You have at least this amount of free money you should be putting on my rent, and then whatever you're supposed to be making.
Part of this to choose between raising it.
And if you don't believe that, there are people, many people on social assistance post-COVID where their rent is their welfare checks, their entire welfare checks.
Family and keeping their careers. And as well, our budget will also bring in automatic federal benefits so that the millions of low-income Canadians who aren't part of the system can get the support that they need. Now, we need to be clear-eyed about where we stand today so we can build support.
Although I am noticing the saying, if you're not employed, you're not part of the system. They're going to look after your needs, but he is implying you are not part of the system unless you're employed. That's concerning.
More. Let me give the current economic context. I'm channeling my old central banker days here. Look, the situation in Canada now, the actual situation, is that the rate of inflation has come down. It's come down sharply. But it's also the case that the cost of living is still far too high. It's also the situation in Canada right now that we're building a lot more homes. Housing starts are up this year. And affordability of those houses are improving. But it's still challenging. We need to build many, many more homes, and we need to build them a lot faster. This government is getting immigration under control, with asylum claims down by a third and new temporary foreign workers down by more than 70% this year.
Because he's cutting people. He's cutting people. He's gutted immigration. He's gutted all of those programs. And if you are on a waiting list, awaiting a claim for refugee or asylum, your wait time might be 50 years, and I'm not even exaggerating. It was one of many examples. And why? Well, everybody's wait times jumped into these massive, crazy numbers when Canada tabled legislation that, if it passes, will allow them to just, with a stroke of a pen, cancel large numbers of visas and claims.
To match immigration levels with our needs and our capacity to welcome them, this budget will include Canada's new immigration plan to do better for newcomers and for everyone. It's also the fact that in this economy, we are creating jobs as a whole across it.
My biggest pet peeve is fucking white people talking about fucking immigration. Like, if white people think there's too many immigrants, they're welcome to go back to Europe. Please, leave.
And it is a fact that we are forecast to be the second fastest growing economy in the G7 over the course of the next 2 years.
Is there proof that's a little better than the climate promise of the same thing?
Even though
Close. Second in the G7 behind the US, but way behind everybody in BRICS. That's what he didn't say. BRICS is the fastest growing set of economies.
some critical sectors, I mentioned earlier, auto, steel, lumber, forest products, aluminum, and some regions are facing big pressures. So the facts are that at present, despite everything,
Those aren't all facts. They're statements he's made up.
despite these big changes, our economy is holding up. But it's equally true that if we don't act now, these pressures will only grow. And more fundamentally, our goal is not just to do reasonably well, but to grow stronger than the rest of the G7. And as we work to do so, I want to make this promise to Canadians. I will always be straight about the challenges that we face and the choices that we must make. And to be clear, we won't transform our economy easily or in a few months. It will take some sacrifices.
Here is telling you how it is. He will be straight with you. He will tell you. He will control you. It will be very patriarchal.
It will take some time. Our government will work relentlessly to cut waste and drive efficiencies. And when we have to make difficult choices, we will be thoughtful, we'll be transparent, and we'll be fair.
We'll tell you about it.
We will work collaboratively with our colleagues across the aisle to build, protect, and empower Canadians.
Because they're working with conservatives who want everything Carney is promising, and it is making Polyev lose his shit. He sounds more insane because he's like, the liberals will never do this. We're going to do this. And then the liberals are like, we're doing this. The rest of the conservatives are like, yay, cool. And then Polyev looks like a fool. He's not going to last. The only good thing about Polyev is he was easily hateable.
We won't play games. We won't waste time. And we won't hold back. We will do what it takes. We will play to win. We will bet on Canada and all Canadians.
So, yeah, this. I do find all of this concerning. It will usher in AI. He is telling people that all the difficult bills he's passing is what is necessary to build and to have a strong economy, and we can't do that without being more protectionist. I don't even think he made his case really good, but he built up enough emotion that it was probably pretty successful. There's a lot of clapping, but there's a bunch of university students probably involved in economy or politics who get to see the Prime Minister speak, so I'm unsurprised by the level of clapping. Audiences are usually chosen pretty carefully for these kinds of things. AI really is something we want to fight against, folks. It's going to take jobs, it's going to take water, it's going to take energy, and that's something you can probably successfully fight and protect at least your local area in on a municipal level. The rest of it, you're going to have to fight in the streets. There's no such thing as voting out fascism or authoritarianism. You don't vote them out, you have to fight them out. Lisa Miller made a false video, if you watch her, saying that humors worked to overthrow fascism in the past, and her example was fundamentally untrue. Humor was used to get the population on board. So the inflatable costumes the Americans are wearing in their ICE protests, it's useful because it makes them feel safer to do it. It makes them look friendlier because worrying about optics is such a huge problem. It's such a huge problem. It's how you lose, by believing that you have to worry about optics. You don't. You don't have to worry about the propaganda sold against you. You just have to convince the people. You can do that with humor. But you know what? Even in her example, where they used humor, at the end of the day, they ended up burning down their parliament buildings. So I'm not going to say humor is what succeeded. I'm going to say at the end of the day, massive public property damage, vandalism, and violence is what brought down the fascism for them. You can't vote it out. You can't. It's not historically how it happens. When it's tried, you just get like fascism light, authoritarianism light is somewhere in between. It's usually useless, has no teeth, and either needs to be overthrown by the people later on, or it gets overthrown by a military and you're still in the same problems, right? So you're past the point of being able to vote and protest this out. The protests are important. They're important. Do them. Only if you support every other form of resistance. Whatever your form of resistance is, you need to support the other forms, especially the ones that are more extreme and more radical than you. That's how you win. Because once you get into this argument about optics, you've lost. You've become the propaganda. And you will stop yourself from going and joining those more extreme factions that are actually going to win. That's how it will go down. So that's my thoughts. Also, if you're into workers' rights, go research who the Luddites actually were. And do so carefully, because I discovered today that YouTube will show you, ironically, AI video shorts about Luddites, who were mostly women, despite the muscly AI drawn men on most of the short covers. And because they were weavers who did not like that the machines were not only being used to replace their jobs, but were being used to coerce workers into worsening labor conditions because we can just replace you with a machine. That's what they were opposed to. And from then until now, we have had nonstop propaganda that the Luddites were bad, backwards people who hated technology. They hated how it was being used against the majority of humans for the benefit of a few. And it turns out they weren't wrong. But if you want to research it, you're going to have to do work, because YouTube wants to show you AI about the people who would have opposed it. And you know how you click the 3 little buttons to say, don't recommend channel? You can do that on regular channels. You might already know you cannot do it on sponsored channels. Turns out AI channels, AI slop channels, channels that only make AI slop, also are channels you cannot opt to stop being recommended to you. So there's also that. All right, folks, get out there, pay attention to what's going on, analyze it, question it, and go find the people who would be willing to break the law with you. All right, see you later, folks.